Before this video starts, I want to give you guys an idea of what to expect and how to use this Freeform Loc guide. So this Freeform Loc guide is a compilation of a handful of my videos that can help you on your Freeform Loc journey. There are two ways to watch this video. The first way is to watch it from beginning to end, and you'll get a very good idea of how I started my locks, how I maintain them, and how I got them to this point. The second way is to skip through to the topics that you need more explanations on. So feel free to skip around, and I even put timestamps in the description so that you can very quickly find the parts that you need to find. And one thing that I recommend is that you save this video by either liking it or adding it to a playlist, so that in the future, if you have a question about freeforming along your process, you have this video to reference and you don't lose it. But with all that said, enjoy the video and expect a part 2 sometime in the near future when I have more content and more explanations on how to maintain and start Freeform locks. Yeah. Okay. It's absolutely hilarious. I'm sure you guys already know by now that there are so many ways to start locks, whether it's, you know, regular locks or semi-freeform locks. There's always a method that people use to either start or maintain their locks. With my semi-freeform locks, I took the simple route because with my hair, I really don't like to use a lot of products or do a lot of manipulation. So I took the simple, like the most simple route I could possibly find. And this is my second set of locks. With my first set of locks, they were not freeform or semi-freeform. I just did like the basic, you know, you get the clips, twist, apply product every few weeks. That's how I did my first set. But for this set, I didn't do any of that. I didn't use any product. I haven't done any type of rolling or twisting or any type of manipulation like that at all. So I'm going to explain to you guys how I started my locks and how I maintain them. Spoiler alert, I don't maintain them. They're semi-freeform, so I just let them be. So I started my freeform locks back in October of 2019, and I started off with a like mini tapered fro. So I had lots of hair in the middle, and then of course my sides were tapered. And let me tell you, getting out of like a mohawk style and trying to grow it out, it's very challenging, and like mentally it's a mental challenge, because the whole time you're growing your hair out, you're realizing that your whole middle section is long, and you're like, okay, I just need to grow out my sides at this point. But I stuck with it, and this is the result. So when I first started, I wanted the simplest option, and what I did was I went to the beauty supply store and I got a hair sponge, which was I think like $3 or $4. And pretty much what a hair sponge is just this foam sponge type of item where it has small holes on one side and larger holes on the other side. So people use it to twist their hair or start their locks, or you know, whatever kind of style they can do. So I got the sponge and I took a spray bottle and I fully wet my hair until it was saturated, and then I just started using the hair sponge. So I started on one side, you know, went around to different sides and made sure I thoroughly got my hair twisted by this hair sponge. And throughout the process, my hair would get a little bit dry. So just to keep things like going smoothly, I made sure to constantly wet my hair with my spray bottle. And I didn't use any products, no wax, gels, anything like that. I think maybe I had like a little bit of oil in the spray bottle, but nothing that was like that serious. So after maybe 30 or 40 minutes of using that hair sponge, I liked the product of, you know, what I saw. My hair was pretty much twisted up by the hair sponge. After my hair was twisted up by the sponge, I really didn't do anything after that to maintain it. I think for maybe the first night, I put like a scarf on my head, but I realized like it really didn't do anything for me. And what was really best for my locks at the time was to just keep them moisturized, keep some type of like oil. I liked olive oil, just keep that in it. And yeah, just let them do what they wanted to do. Look, hey, I can tell you right now that using a sponge to start your semi-freeform locks is probably the easiest and cheapest way. I can't say it's the best way because everybody has their own preference on how they want their locks to look. But if you like the way my locks look, just know that I did them using a sponge. I just did it once, and this is the result that I got over time. Alright, so this is a question that I get a lot from people who just recently started their locks, because if you've just started your locks and now you're realizing you need to wash them, it can be like anxiety inducing because you're thinking, is this gonna mess up my locks? Is this gonna make them unravel? Are they gonna like tangle up into one big clump? So many things can go through your head when you're thinking about washing your new locks. So I wanted to take some time to really go in depth on this topic just to like ease some of your anxieties. Just so you know, my locks are semi-freeform, which means to me, I started them off with a sponge, and once I started them, I didn't do anything else with them. I didn't retwist, I didn't separate any locks, nothing like that. I just started them and then I let them be. So as I'm talking about my process for washing, back when I had like new locks, this is the result. So keep this in mind. This is how my hair turned out after I washed my hair consistently the way that I'm about to explain to you. My first thought when it was time for me to wash my locks for the first time was, I don't want my locks to unravel, so I need to like secure them onto my head in like the same spot. What I did was I took a pair of pantyhose, like actual pantyhose, like women's pantyhose from my mom, and I just put it over my head so that each individual lock would stay in place. And I realized very quickly that that was very unnecessary. I didn't care if they combined. Actually, I encouraged them to combine because they're freeform, and like that's just the look I was going for. Because I started off with a sponge, each lock already kind of had its individual structure, and it wasn't like free loose hair strands. And also what helped for me was the fact that my hair is 4C, so just the act of washing my hair and wetting it and letting the curls like tangle up, that helped my hair lock up. So because I wasn't worried about combining, my only worry was my hair strands separating and not like staying together. But that wasn't an issue because if you think about it, when your hair gets wet or when you wash your hair, what do you have to do after you get out the shower? You have to detangle. So when your hair is wet, the strands of your hair are able to tangle up and pretty much just lock up. So I realized very quickly that washing my hair was my friend and it would help my hair actually lock up. But when I got out the shower from washing my hair, sometimes I did notice like the size of my hair were, because I had a taper, the size of my hair, those locks were very, very short compared to the top of my hair. So sometimes I would notice that like the sides, like the side locks would be like loose compared to the locks on the top of my head, which was fine with me because even though they were like loose and I could kind of like see through them, they were still intact and they definitely didn't unravel and they definitely didn't like separate from the lock. So don't worry about that if you're worried about that. As long as your hair is like coily, like a coily type of curly, don't worry about your hair just like coming apart. It's not gonna happen. But I can say that if you have looser curls, then like it may be an issue for you. So I do recommend using a stocking cap if you have looser curls. The only thing that I really noticed was a lot of my locks combined, and over time more and more would combine, and I would notice it when I got out the shower, like, you know, like a few little strands would be combined from each lock. But my locks definitely have combined over time, and that's been cool with me because I have freeform locks. Like that's kind of, you know, what my hair is supposed to do. That's what my hair does, and I have no complaints. But to summarize, if you have a tight coiled kind of texture like I do, then when you're washing your new freeform or semi-freeform locks, don't worry about using a stocking cap or trying to keep your locks together and intact, because the water is naturally going to help your hair lock and your hair isn't going to separate just by being wet. The only thing you may need to worry about is if you don't want your locks to combine at all, then when you get out the shower, just do a little bit of separating and that should take care of that. There's a couple reasons why I rinse my hair in the morning, and I'm going to explain that to you guys. So I just woke up. This is before I took my shower. So This is my hair before rinsing it. As I get ready for my day, then I'll take a shower, rinse my hair, and then show you guys what's going on. All right, my hair is rinsed, and honestly it's been about 25 or 30 minutes because while I was in the shower, my camera died. So I let my camera battery charge for like 25-30 minutes and it's full. Okay, that's cool. But yeah, I rinsed my hair in the shower and I, you know, twisted the water out, squeezed it out. And when I got out the shower, usually I like to use a separate towel from like my body and my hair, just because I don't like when my body towel is super wet. So I use a separate towel to like squeeze out all the excess water in my hair, especially the ends, because that's where like the water holds on to the most, I feel like. But this is my hair about 30 minutes after my shower. The reasons why I like to rinse my hair pretty much daily when I'm in the shower is once I rinse it, it does fall differently, and it allows my hair to pretty much like each lock can find its place and it's not taken away by the wind so easily. It just falls, you know, nicely. And this was useful for me when I first started my locks, when they were a lot shorter, because it helped each lock find its position on my head. And you know, even when I had like probably like 3-4 inches maybe, it let my hair, like my little locks, fall, you know, front and try to like, you know, find their way on my head. But that's the first reason. The second reason I rinse my hair daily is because it helps my hair lock up faster. So when your hair is wet, like the coils, they twist up more, they tangle up, and that's what helps your hair lock. So of course I'm not using any gel or any other type of products to help my hair lock up. So just by it being wet every single day, it allows my hair the chance to lock up and tangle up. So this is about the amount of new growth that I have right now that has not locked up. You can see that is all loose hair. So my hair just really locks up quickly because I rinse it daily. And the third reason I like to rinse my hair pretty much daily is because it adds moisture to my hair. So I don't use creams or butters or conditioners or anything like that on my scalp. And of course your hair needs moisture, it needs water to not be brittle and break off. So when I rinse my hair, it's adding moisture, and with my hair type, the moisture does hold in to like my roots pretty well because of how thick it is and the porosity of it. So throughout the day, for probably like a few hours of the day, the scalp and my roots are pretty moist. And I can take it a step further, and if it's like, say like the winter time and you know the air is dry damn. So say it's like the winter time and the air is dry, if I rinse my hair, I can lock in that moisture with oil. So I add moisture with the water, and then I lock in that moisture with like olive oil or coconut oil, whatever type of oil I have. And then the fourth and last reason I like to rinse my hair daily is because it makes it easier to manipulate. So say for example, if I want to do you know, a little ponytail, or if I want to do some twist or like some braids for a day, then it makes my hair easier to manipulate and my hair is not just dry. Yeah, when your hair is wet, it's just a lot easier to work with. And like I said, I don't like to use any type of creams, so my hair does need to be soft and flexible when I'm trying to do different stuff like ponytails or buns or twists or whatever. Oh my God, why am I so close? Wait a second, all right. You guys wanna know how to make your locks do this while they're still short? How do you make your locks fall? I did it. I made my locks fall within the first couple of months of having them, and I'm going to explain how I did it. So I think we can all understand that when you have 4C hair or something similar to 4C hair, your hair does not naturally fall. So for example, if my hair was not in locks and it was just my natural fro, it would not fall. The only thing that would make my hair fall is some type of moisture. So with me saying that, you just pretty much found the key to making your locks fall. Now you can watch further and I can explain in more detail my exact process of how I got my locks to fall quickly within the first couple of months. Or you can just take that little bit and you can, you know, try to formulate your own strategy. But I'm gonna go ahead and tell you guys my strategy. When I first started my locks back in October of 2018, I started with a hair sponge, and I started with the intention of them being semi-freeform. I just used a sponge one time and then I let them grow and form by themselves without any type of manipulation. So very quickly I knew I wanted my locks to fall, so I came up with this idea. I had to like perfect it over time, but when I first started off, I just got a spray bottle, and sometimes I would add some olive oil or something like that, but the main ingredient here is just water. So usually every morning I would wet my hair with the spray bottle and pretty much just have it like saturated. And where I messed up in the beginning was when I would wet my hair with the spray bottle, but I wouldn't dry it well afterwards. So make sure you're drying your hair well after it's been wet. But yeah, I would just spray my hair with the spray bottle every morning. And of course, when you add moisture to your hair, it gets heavier and it falls. So even though my hair was like above my eyebrow, my hair was still in their little twist. They were finding their way laid down on my head. So when you add moisture to your hair often, like I did daily, and your hair is given the chance to fall, what happens is your hair is trained to fall in a certain way. So I would let my hair get wet, let it fall, and then, you know, do like some little moving to make sure it was all laid down nice, and then I would just dry it and go about my day. And what's also good about what I was doing, because I was in the beginning stages of my locking process, it was helping my hair fall, but it was also helping my hair lock quicker. Pretty much what's happening is your hair is getting tangled up and then they're maturing into a more dense form of locks. So when your hair is wet more often, it has more chances to tangle up and then it just locks quicker. So you got a 2-in-1 strategy right there. People often comment on how my locks don't look semi-freeformed and they look like I retwisted them at some point. But that's just because from a very early stage, I trained them to fall with water. When it comes to mildew smells and mold in your locks, the main reason, I think like the only reason really of why this happens to people's locks is because they're not drying their locks well enough. I made a video recently talking about how I rinse my semi-freeform locks almost every day. Pretty much anytime I take a shower in the morning, I'm rinsing my hair. One of the questions I got was, how do you prevent like that mildew smell, and how do you keep your locks from getting moldy, and pretty much just like questions like that. But if you want to know why I rinse my locks pretty much daily, there's 4 reasons, and I explain those reasons in that video. You can find it in the description. There should be a card at the top of this video and also at the end of this video. So go ahead and watch that after you're done with this video. But I just got out the shower, rinsed my hair in the shower, and the first thing that I do after I'm done rinsing my hair and I'm ready to get out the shower is I grab each side of my locks and I squeeze them like this. I just squeeze, go to the other side, same thing, do the back, same thing. And pretty much what I'm trying to do in the shower is make sure that when I get out, my hair is not dripping wet and it's not soaking. So that's like the first thing you want to do. I do use a separate towel for my hair and my body. So I grab my my hair towel, which is fully dry, and then I get to the process. My hair is 4C, so it definitely is very good at holding in moisture, And I had to learn quick when I started my locks that I need a good drying process, and I need to figure out how to be able to do my daily rinse and not have to deal with any type of weird smells or anything like that. So once I get my towel, what I do is I really start with one side, grab like half of my head of locks and squeeze. So I'm squeezing pretty hard. And I come to this side, I squeeze, especially the ends. The ends are what hold most of the moisture in, because obviously the water drips down. So definitely focus on the ends. And once I get a pretty good amount of squeezing in, this is when I go to twisting. So I grab and I start twisting. Even like this, just, you know, to really make sure my hair is not dripping, my ends are not wet. My ends are like what I'm really mostly worried about when I'm trying to make sure my hair is fully dry. And then you want to switch to drier parts of the towel so it can absorb more water. And then just like an overall drying further up. There you go. But that's how I do it now that my locks are much longer. And when my locks were shorter, you know, probably like above my eyebrow, I would still have a towel and I would really just pat and hold and let the towel absorb the moisture. And if you have enough length, you know, grab and squeeze so all that moisture is coming out. And if your hair is not dripping and you don't feel like a lot of transfer of water onto your hands when you're squeezing them, you know you're good. And sometimes even like do a little sniff check. Like there's nothing wrong doing a little sniff check just to make sure nothing is starting to build up, no type of moisture or mildew smells or whatever. So even though I rinse my locks daily, my process for drying my hair makes it so that I never have issues with mildew or any type of mold or anything like that. When I'm washing my hair, which is usually like once a month, I'm using black soap. This is black soap. This is what I use. This is the only thing I use to wash my hair, and I've been using this for many years. Why I use it is because if you have any type of buildup or product, dirt, oil, whatever in your hair, this thing will, I don't want to say strip because it's not like that. I wouldn't be using it if I felt like it stripped my hair really, but I guess it does strip your hair of any type of gunk or whatever is in it. So I use this and I can feel the difference. But the difference with this and like any chemical shampoo or whatever that you get off the shelves, this thing will clean your hair very well. It leaves my hair feeling very soft. When I get out the shower, I don't feel like it's brittle after it dries. I don't feel like all my nutrients are gone or anything like that. But yeah, I don't have issues with mildew or mold or whatever, like especially once I'm done using this soap. So even though my drying process is really good, this black soap makes it so that anything that was in my hair that shouldn't be there is gone like after I'm done washing my hair. So this thing was $4, got it from my beauty supply store, and your black soap should look something like this. Yeah, if you're looking for black soap, make sure you research black soap. So everything that is in black soap, you can see it when you buy the black soap. You can see all those flecks and pieces of black soap in your soap. A quick Google search helped me learn that real usually is the product of mixing water with the ashes of plantain skins, cocoa pod powder, palm oil, and other oils such as coconut oil or sometimes shea butter and other natural things like that. Man, I used to have bad dandruff, and it's only recently that I just realized why I don't have dandruff anymore. And when I realized it, I thought to myself, many other people probably have the same issue and probably don't even know that this one thing is the cause of it. I'm gonna tell you guys my whole routine very briefly of how I take care of my hair, and I want you guys to try to guess why I no longer have dandruff. All right, so let's imagine it's wash day. What am I gonna do? I'm gonna get in the shower, I'm gonna rinse my locks with some hot water because I love hot water, and then I'm gonna grab my bar of black soap and I'm going to lather my hair up, and for probably like 3 or 4 minutes I'm gonna scrub, and then I'm gonna rinse it out. And once I'm done rinsing, I'm going to repeat that process and then make sure I rinse thoroughly and squeeze all the water out of my hair and get out the shower, towel dry. And then sometimes if it's maybe the winter time or I know it's dry outside, I might apply some olive oil or some Jamaican black castor oil. But besides that, I don't add anything to my hair, and I just go about my day. You know, when it's time for bed, I usually don't wrap my hair up. I just lay my head on my silk pillow, go to sleep, wake up, and then in the morning, if I take a shower, then I'll rinse my hair in the shower with some warm water and then, you know, dry and go about my day. So that's usually how my routine goes when it comes to my locks, how I maintain them, how I wash them and dry them. And I can only speak for myself, obviously, when it comes to the reason why I used to have dandruff and why I don't have dandruff anymore. But I think this may be helpful for some of you, so I'm gonna share. I love Googling things to find answers to my questions, and when I have a question, I'll usually hop on Google and read like 2 or 3 articles for upwards of like 30 minutes to figure out the answer to my question. Let me briefly tell you guys what I learned about dandruff from mayoclinic.org. Symptoms of dandruff, or what is it? Signs of dandruff: skin flakes on your scalp, itchy scalp. Causes of dandruff: irritated oily skin, dry skin, a type of fungus that is found on your scalp, sensitivity to hair care products, and other conditions like eczema and psoriasis. So briefly, that's the official, definition of dandruff, what causes it potentially, and the symptoms. So since I started this set of Freeform Locs back in 2019, I haven't had any issues with dandruff. And really, these last couple of years, I haven't even noticed like a speck of dandruff in my head. But I did start to get dandruff again when I decided I wanted to style my hair. And usually when I style my hair these days, I do braid outs or twist outs. So I'll braid my hair for a day or two, and then I'll undo it, and then I'll have wavy locks. But to do those styles, I ended up using products, and I hadn't used these products in a few years, but I remembered that I really liked the smell of them, and the one had a nice texture to it where it was easy for me to braid up my hair or manipulate it in some way. And that was really the only reason I like to use them. So specifically, those products were Shea Moisture products. I used the shampoo, the conditioner, and then the leave-in, I think it was conditioner. But I really liked how that line smelled, so I used it whenever I styled my hair. But this last time I styled my hair, I realized that I had a terrible amount of dandruff, and the other times I used them, I had a terrible amount of dandruff. And it really made me realize that before this set of locks, I used to use products to moisturize my hair or condition my hair or shampoo my hair or whatever. And even though I really took care in cleaning my scalp and I felt like I was moisturizing my scalp with these products, even though I felt like they were benefiting me and I was doing a good job, my hair still produced dandruff within a couple of days. And for a long time, like even when I was in middle school, I used to think that I just had dry hair. And I used to think that I wasn't using enough oil or enough conditioner. But I'm realizing now that I don't use any products all I do is use black soap and, you know, olive oil or whatever, and I never have dandruff. Now I'm realizing that my scalp has a sensitivity to chemicals, and let me read off what some of these chemicals are that can cause irritation to your scalp and then cause dandruff. Number 1, parabens. 2, sulfates. 3, silicone. 4, sodium chloride. 5, synthetic fragrances. And then 6, formaldehyde. So those are just 6 ingredients that can cause irritation and dandruff to your scalp. Me personally, instead of nitpicking through products and looking at the labels and trying to figure out, okay, is this really not a product that has sulfates, or are they disguising other ingredients as this and it's actually a sulfate? I see that often, where you think you're buying products that don't have X ingredient, but then you see the ingredients and you realize that they've used a byproduct of that ingredient or a similar ingredient, but it's just named something different. That's what I really don't like about a lot of hair care products on the markets. Instead of trying to pick through and figure out which products don't have all of these ingredients, I'd rather just stick to what really works for me, and that is black soap and natural oil. One question that I kind of get a lot is, did I dye my hair? Or sometimes people don't even ask me if I dyed my hair, they just ask me, what kind of dye did you use for your hair? Or how did you dye your hair? And it makes sense because my hair is definitely kind of like an ombre, where it's lighter on the ends and darker towards my roots. But I didn't intentionally dye my hair, it was dyed naturally. And it pretty much happened over the course of like a few hours. So I'm gonna explain to you guys how that happened. So it was, I think, 2019. I took a trip to Puerto Rico, and I was on Luquillo Beach, and that was my favorite beach to visit. And I remember the sun was like beaming, like more than the last few beaches I went to. So what happened was, and I had to research this after I came back home to try to figure out exactly what happened, but what happened was I went to the beach, and before I even sat down to tan, I got in the water and I did some snorkeling, I did some swimming. So of course the water was like soaked into my hair, and then I went and sat down on the beach in my chair, and I just tanned for like 4 or 5 hours. And it's crazy because that was the first time I've ever gotten sunburned. Even though I'm the type who loves to tan, that Puerto Rican sun really like sunburned me. So the chemical reaction that happened and why it was so effective is the salt water mixed with the sun. So you can do this like naturally just by going into like the salty beach water, or you can, you know, plan and spray your hair or soak your hair with salt water before you go out and tan in the sun. So even though like the sun does naturally bleach your hair by itself, the process is sped up and increased when you add salt water. So that's what happened. And when I came home, yeah, I realized my hair was a lot lighter compared to how dark my skin was. It was actually pretty cool to see that contrast back when I had that tan and the lightening of my hair. Because back then my hair was a lot shorter, so it was like most of my locks, like almost like the full length of my locks, were that like this lighter color. So now that my hair has grown out and I haven't been to the beach and, you know, gotten my hair bleached in that way, of course it's darker, and then I have like the lighter type of color. So that's how my hair got this color. It wasn't intentional, I didn't use any chemicals, it was all natural. And it's a very easy way, you know, if you want to dye your locks or lighten your locks and get, you know, a different type of look for them. just go to the beach, swim, and then tan for a few hours, and you'll probably notice some lightening in your hair. To start from the beginning, I started my locks in October of 2019, and I started with like probably like this much hair. It was a mini fro that I had my barber taper, so of course my sides were tapered, and it was kind of like back into a mohawk kind of cut. So I probably had only like 2 inches of hair at the top, and then of course I would pick it out and it would add some more length to it. But that's the length that I started with. And then I bought a hair sponge from the beauty supply store, and one night I just went all over my head for about 30 minutes in one direction with that hair sponge, and of course, you know, some water. I continuously sprayed my hair throughout the 30-minute process. And by the end of that process, I had some little starter twists, of course longer on the top and middle, and then because my sides were tapered some more, they were shorter on the sides. And that's the only time I ever, I guess, like twisted or manipulated my hair. I never retwisted after that. I never like separated my locks or anything like that. So that's how I started them. And for I think I would say like the first year, I would wake up every morning, and when they were like really short, I would get a spray bottle and just spray my head to make sure they would like get wet. And I did that because, like, one, I'm really not the type of person to use like a lot of product in my hair. So of course your hair needs to be moisturized. Your hair needs to not be dry, because that's when you get breakage. So if I wet my hair daily, my hair wouldn't be like asking for water or moisture. So that was one reason. And the other reason was, if I wet my hair, of course when you wet your hair, it falls. So I would wet my hair, and sometimes, like, I guess towards the end of that year, I would use a towel to kind of like squeeze the water out, because by then it was like really thick and long compared to before, so it would hold moisture a little too much. And like anybody who has locks know that if you have too much like moisture in your hair for too long, it causes like a mildew type of odor. So you want to keep it more on the dry side and not soaking wet. But yeah, I would make sure I wet it so it would fall down nicely and it has some moisture in it throughout the day. And that's pretty much all I would do. For washing, I still like to use black soap. Not like the Shea Moisture black soap or any of that other stuff, but like black soap from the beauty supply store, with like little pieces of, you know, plant matter and stuff in it. Like you can tell it's black soap. That's probably like $4, $5 depending on where you get it from. So black soap. And then if I use oil, I'll use olive oil, or sometimes coconut oil, but really olive oil is like, you know, it's just my go-to. And in the beginning, I would sometimes use a stocking cap when I washed my hair. That's just so like the little twist that I did have, they didn't just poof out into like mini froze and stuff. But I gave up on that after a couple washes. So in the beginning, I would wash my hair with a stocking cap, but after a while I said forget the stocking cap, and I would just wash my hair. And after a few washes and, you know, a few weeks of me like spraying my hair every morning, my hair did, you know, locks did combine. So if you look, you can see like the product of me not caring about my locks combining. This is 3 locks. Let me see. This used to be 5 or 6 locks. So I really didn't care if my locks combined. I would just let them combine. And sometimes I would even notice that like some of my locks were really thin, and I realized, like, I knew I didn't want super thin locks, so sometimes I would just go and combine them myself, because I'm like, you know, if I want like a nice amount of volume in my head, I don't want my locks to be really thin. So yeah, I did let my locks combine a lot, and I didn't try to separate them too often. So that's really like the first year and a half of my locks, and from that point on, it was just, you know, the basics: washing my hair, rinsing it and drying it with the towel real quick, or a t-shirt every morning. And another question people usually ask me is if I wear a headscarf at night or a bonnet. I don't do that. My hair locked really quickly because I made sure I wet it and gave it a chance to tangle up and lock up every day, and also because I kind of just like let it be. I have silk pillowcases, so like I was never too worried about my hair breaking off a lot. So, you know, any type of like friction on your locks will help them lock up. Any type of moisture will help them tangle. So my hair locked up pretty quickly. These days, pretty much every time I take a shower, I will wet my hair, and then when I get out the shower, you know, I'll wring it out. Just wring it out. And I actually have a headband in right now. Let me show you guys. But if you are worried about breakage, a lot of people use a t-shirt, like a cotton t-shirt, instead of a towel, so their hair isn't like, because the towel can be pretty abrasive. So if you're worried about breakage from a towel, then, you know, I recommend using a cotton t-shirt to dry. But yeah, these days I just rinse in the shower whenever I shower, dry it, and just go about my day. I don't use any moisturizers or any gels, any locking you know, wax or whatever is used to retwist or moisturize. I don't use conditioner. If I use anything, it's just oil, like olive oil. When I take a shower, I do use shea butter on my body, so sometimes if I have like, you know, extra shea butter left, I'll just come through and rub it on my edges real quick. You know, just to have somewhere to put the shea butter. But that's pretty much it. So I'm gonna give you guys a quick look. And you can tell my hair used to be tapered by the way that it's like the way that it falls. You know, it does have like the look of hair that used to be tapered. Let me show you guys. So these are like the back locks. My longest locks are where the longest part of my hair was, which was, you know, in the area where I had the most hair when it wasn't a taper style. So like these are the longest. And of course the back, these are the shortest locks. And even on the sides, my locks are a lot shorter than like the middle, for example, or just the top in general. Lots of loose hairs because I don't retwist, lots of new growth, and really my hair just locks up by itself. You know, after time of washing it, rinsing it, it just locks up by itself. I never have to retwist. So that's all loose new growth right there. But